I imagine at one time you were this brilliant little child. As we enter into adulthood, what was brilliant in childhood can actually get in the way of you living the life you want to live. Hello, friends. I'm Nancy Houston. I want to help you live a better life. We're all emotional creatures who sometimes think. And so it's so important that we make this journey from our heads into the depths of our hearts. Welcome to the In-Between with Nancy Houston. Hey, hello, everybody. We are so glad that you are joining us this morning. I have with me today one of my most favorite people in the whole wide world, my son, Micah Houston. So welcome, Micah. So glad to have you with us here today.
Thank you. It's really good to be here with you today.
So good to have you here. Yeah. So Micah and I are this mother-son team that work together. Now, this wasn't always the case. For 18 years, he's been a wrestling coach. But gosh, what about 5 years ago, you were ready to transition into the world of executive coaching?
Yeah, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
5-6 years ago.
So you got your master's degree from the Townsend Institute in executive coaching, and then you started working with me. So tell us about that. Like, what do you do with me, and how's it been working with your mom and all the things?
It's good. It's good. Man, it's been a big blessing to work for you.
Thank you.
And with you.
Thank you.
You know, I think one thing I appreciate the most is that you've never made me feel inferior. You always welcomed me into the space, and even though you're wiser and walked more road in the field, that I never felt like I was less than, and I think I really appreciate that.
Wow.
So it's been special.
Thank you. That just, dude, that means the world to me. That brings tears to both of our eyes, because, man, sometimes the world can be a brutal place to work. And some people lead by demeaning others. And I've seen all these gifts and talents in you, and I knew you were a great coach. And I think we were on vacation at the beach, up at the lodge. Was that where we were when you asked me?
This is crazy that as soon as you talked about us working together, that image is in my mind.
At the lodge?
At the lodge, when I was like, I think I'm going to go for this.
Yes.
Because, I debated it. Well, we had talked about it for about 10 years.
We had.
Many walks. I mean, me and you, Dad, me and Dars talked about getting in this field of counseling or coaching. And I was scared to do it. I was scared to do it to show that side of me. The lodge, that moment comes to mind because I want to hear your take on this. But that was a moment when you were like, Micah, I believe this is your calling and you're supposed to do it. And I believe you've been developing the skills to lead and do this. I think this is where you're supposed to go.
Totally, 100%.
And then you said, and can I challenge you? And I was like, absolutely. And you said, if you're going to be successful in this field, you're going to have to become less judgmental.
Ooh, I laid down a challenge for you.
Yeah. And I think not that I have arrived by any means. I'm still working on that. But that was the greatest challenge because not because it's helped me in my career. I think that's a byproduct. But that, personally, I've just had a lot more peace and a lot more comfort in my own skin because I've just been less judgmental of myself, of others, of everything that's going on. So, that moment was inspiring to me, but also a call to action.
Oh, I love it. Well, I saw so much potential in you. Like, I knew you were always meant to be a coach. And yeah, you'd coached, high school wrestling for all those years. But I felt like there was also more inside of you. And at the age and stage you're at, you were ready for the adult world of coaching humans. And honestly, I feel like if you're going to be a great coach or a great counselor, because I'm a therapist by training, but then I entered into the coaching world like 8 years ago. So I love both of those spaces. Yeah. And I feel like if you're going to be a great counselor or a great coach, the number one rule is you have got to believe for the best for that person you are coaching. And our judgments will keep us from that. I think you can't love somebody and judge somebody at the same time. And I think people need to know they're safe and they're loved. And man, you do a great job at that. So what we've done, just to let everybody know, what we've developed in the last 5 years is I lead leadership groups, but they're unique, right?
Special.
They're special. We meet one day a month, all day long. And so after a couple of years of training, Micah, you took over the coaching part, and then I do the day long when we're all together part. And man, when we were sitting around the table yesterday, because we had our group here yesterday, and all of them were like, oh, my coaching session with Micah. Oh, my coaching session with Micah. Oh, the best day of my month was my coaching session with Micah. So you're doing an incredible job with the people we love and work with. So tell us how you kind of developed into this and what it's been like for you and what you love about working with people.
I love that you bring up our day together.
Yeah.
I would say it's interesting being your son, but you're in the groups, you're the mother hen. Like, you care for everyone.
Oh man, I do. I got teared up yesterday when I always start with some sort of like, kind of like a spiritual piece to our morning, because I believe we're spiritual creatures. We're sexual creatures. We're, we've got all these dimensions to ourselves. So I start the morning with something spiritual, and I was just saying to them like, hey, I was challenging them to get out of their comfort zone. Yeah. I'm like, guys, I want all of you to get out of your comfort zones because I believe that God has so much more for you than you can hope or imagine. And I want your life to be that large. And so you're going to have to learn how to be super uncomfortable because getting out of our tiny little worlds is uncomfortable. But if you'll sit in it for 2-3 days, and if you'll put support around yourself and know that this group's got your back no matter what, that after 2 or 3 days, after being just super uncomfortable, like just want to wiggle outside of your own skin because you're trying something new, then you'll settle down and your comfort zone will have grown. And it's just sweet, isn't it, to see? I got choked up for my group yesterday because I love these people so much. Yeah. And I want to see them grow and develop, just like I've wanted that for you. Yeah. I want that for all my sons. I want that for all my people, that their lives are bigger and better than they thought they could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you share that piece because, as I said, mother hen, like, I'm their coach. Yeah. But when we sit around that table and in these chairs in the living room in the afternoon, it doesn't feel like, the old Freud tactic, like, oh, I'm the expert and you're the patient. It feels like a family. Yeah. Like I want to be there and with those people as much as they want to be there and with me. They were all so kind yesterday, but it's like this, it's like this care that we have for each other.
Oh, a deep shared love, true community. Like it's amazing. One of our members said yesterday, like, man, if I wasn't in this group, I'd be in rehab. Yeah. Or I'd be doing this or I'd be doing that. And I'm like, I'm so glad. It's like, It's like this group, we just put our arms around each other and everybody leaves here knowing like people have their arms around me and I can go take some risks because I know I've got these people have got my back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did
Yeah.
you experience our day yesterday? Like, what are some of the things that stood out to you?
Oh, I think what you said when you started, you started the day was this whole idea, and it's what you did to me in that lodge parking lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you create safety.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so rare that you can, in this world, that you can step into a space and be yourself.
Micah, I think, so I was in the counseling world for so many years and we were trained to keep that professional distance. And then I realized like, wait a minute, I'm just human and I want to be connected to people. I don't want to be distanced from people. That's a lonely kind of artificial world. And then you're hiding behind your professionalism. And I'm like, I don't like the way this feels. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm a real human. Yeah. Give me 5 man. Give me 5.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not doing it anymore.
Yes.
I am
Yes.
a human.
Yes.
And I think maybe my humanity could help others.
Yeah.
Right? Like therapy, a therapist goes back to heal. Right?
What a gift.
Which yesterday, some of our day, we went back. One of our members, I mean, her trauma started in the womb. And so we went back to her trauma that started in the womb. And then she had so much trauma all through young adulthood. So we just kept going back and holding and embracing her. And that's what we do in the world of therapy. We go back and we heal.
Yeah.
A mentor, pours out. And a coach draws out. And I'm like, I want to do all those things. I don't want any,
Amen.
I just want to do all those things. So
Yeah.
and I've kind of like trained you like to do all that.
Yeah.
You've gotten really good
Yeah.
at like, hey, if I need to sit with you
Yeah.
around that trauma for a while and be a safe person for you, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think without that safety to start sharing that stuff that you carry and no one knows,
Yeah.
right? No one knows that that's what you're carrying. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, why did he react that way? Oh, why did she react that way? Yeah. Right? When you start sitting with people and being with people and start hearing their stories, it's like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like now I know you. I'm
Right.
not shocked by you or
No.
offended by you. I know
No.
you, and
Yeah.
I love that you kind of bring up the like therapy goes back, the mentorship, the coaching, right?
Yeah. Mentor pours out
Yeah.
and a coach draws out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that you said that. That's part of been the mentorship between me and you that I think is vital
Yeah.
for any coach or therapist to have a mentor. But that, you don't have training in some of the modalities of the therapist, but boy, I can sit with somebody in their story.
You can. Well, when I started shifting my thinking about this is when all the research started coming out. We're learning so much more about the brain all the time. And thank God for all these brilliant neuroscientists who can be like mentors to us out here doing the work. And what they're saying is if you have trauma and if somebody will sit with you in the trauma, hear your story with warmth and love and care and unconditional positive regard, it will bring healing to that human's brains.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hopefully all of us can learn how to do that. Yes, counseling's important, but I think it's more important. Like, why don't we all learn these human skills where just as human beings, we can learn to sit with somebody and say, I am so sorry that happened to you. And you did not deserve that. And that was not your fault. And I spoke at a women's thing a couple of weeks ago, and one of the women came up to me afterwards and said, but what if I'm the one who did bad things? She said, I think I did some sexual things to my siblings. And she said, and I just hate myself for it. And I was just stayed warm with her, like, hey, there was most likely something, even if you just got exposed to some adult sexuality, that gave you these ideas. You know, kids don't just make up adult sexual stuff. They are exposed to it, and then they act out what they've seen. So that's more than likely what's happened with you. I just want to encourage you to know you're not a bad human. There wasn't something horribly wrong with you. You weren't some little pervert, because I know that's how she thinks about herself. That's not who you were. You were just a child. And so I'd love for you to be compassionate towards yourself and be kind with yourself. And then, you know, go talk to somebody who can hold that space for you and with you to work that through.
So that is so good.
Right.
You know, especially in coaching, you could give me the therapist world on this, but like in coaching, so many times people are coming to you and wanting you to fix them. Or they're wanting to reach this high level where they're kind of untouchable, or they've reached the pinnacle, right? It's like this like super performance thing. And I personally think that like some of the biggest work you can do, and now I'm all for performance, so I don't want people to get confused.
We're not against performance.
I love achieving. I love performance. But you know, when you're, I think the greatest work you can do is you can step into your bad. When you can step into your shortcomings. And you can start forgiving yourself. Talk about a gift of leadership.
The finest gift.
Oh, because then when you're leading people and they're in the hard and they're in the bad of themselves, you now can accept them because you've accepted yourself.
Oh, and then you lead from a totally different place. And like you can see achievement and do it from a place that's not about your identity. I mean, how many people have we worked with, and ourselves, where your identity gets wrapped up in your performance and your achievement, and then you achieve something and then you feel empty. Like I think somebody said yesterday that, I love this, bronze medal winners are the happiest because you're just so stinking happy they made it on that platform. Silver medalists are the most disappointed because they were so close. They almost took gold. And then gold medalists are the most unhappy because, you know, they got a gold medal and now it's over.
Yeah, they reached the pinnacle.
And now where do they go? So, you know, I think with the people we work with, we're always trying to like, hey, let's separate out that your performance isn't about who you are. Now, do you want to be great at what you do? Yes, and we do too. We want that for you, but we don't want you empty, sitting like in some dark room, you know, medicating with whiskey or bourbon or whatever it is, because you're feeling empty because now you reached your achievement, your performance is over. And you feel empty. It's like, no, we want you to know who you are as a human.
That's so good. That is so good, because that is so many times, you know, if you want to put this in coaching, or if you want to put it around athletics, if you want to put it around business, we get sold this lie that like, when I get here, when I get that gold medal, then I'll be successful.
I will
then
feel
I will
good
have
about
made
myself.
it. And it really leads to what you're talking about. It leads to like, because our identity's so wrapped up in it. So I just like this idea of us being connected and us being at peace and allowing a different driver than the next thing driving us.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's just a whole pendulum switch, I think.
Isn't it? We
people.
talked a lot about it yesterday in our group, like, because leaders can feel lonely.
Yeah.
Like, well, man, nobody checks in on me. And I'm like, man, I get that. And where are we vulnerably showing and sharing our weaknesses with others?
Yeah.
Or do I always feel like I have to be the strong one? And if we feel like we always have to be the strong one, then people tend to go, oh, she's fine. He's fine. I don't need to check in with him. He's always doing great. He's so strong. And so I think sometimes as leaders, we have to be the ones going, hey, man, I'm human. I'm limited. Yeah. Like, I am so limited. And actually, the older I get, the more I love my limitations.
The gift.
The gift. I can just so laugh at my limitations. Like, my husband knows, like, don't let Nancy have a knife in her hand because she'll cut something off. Usually one of my fingers. How many times?
The beach house.
Oh, I know. How many times have I cut part of my thumb off with a knife?
Don't let mom have a knife.
Exactly. Don't let her have a screwdriver. Don't ask her to plug something in. I mean, I'm just like, I was born with we decided I was born with 4 thumbs. It's really awkward.
God gave you Ron Houston, though. Boy,
oh, I know. So I married this man who can do everything. And I'm like, thank God, because I have 4 thumbs. It's so awkward.
That's good.
But I can just now enjoy and laugh at all my awkwardness.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And somebody asked me, well, like, what scripture is that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember numbers. You know? And I'm like, I don't.
It's somewhere in here.
Yeah. It's in the book of John.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we can... Like, I mean, I love that God says, when you're weak, I'm strong.
Yeah.
But we all want to be about strength and power and look at my achievements. And so we kind of approach our coaching with leaders a little differently.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So go ahead in your
well,
coaching.
Well, no, I just love your stories on limits. And, you know, for me, in my story, that's just a big part of my leadership. When I got into leadership, like, I was convinced I had to do it all alone. And I was convinced that, gosh, I was so insecure, but I just convinced myself that, like, I had to do it alone. And I had to be perfect. And if I wasn't perfect, then I was so
I've
critical.
got a question for you. Did that come from, like, my mothering, or did that come from the world of wrestling and performance that you were in, or is it a combination? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Let's
get real and raw here. Did some of this come from, did I parent in a way that gave you the impression that you needed to be perfect or perform in a certain way, or did that come from the home, your family of origin home you grew up in, or is that the world of performance you got into with college wrestling? And
I have thought about that, and I can't pinpoint one thing that, like, gave me that. But when I think back on it, it's like in the school system I was raised in, like, you had to have an opinion on a topic right away.
Ooh.
Right? Like, you had to know. Right? Therefore, in order for you to know, you kind of had to say this and that and judge other things. You know what I mean? And whoever had the best thought on that was the winner. When sports, like, it was about winning. You know what I mean? Like, being the best. And the person who was the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I know I carried that around for a long time, was like, I'm only accepted if I am.
Mm. Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that brings tears to my eyes, but like,
yeah, me too.
I want to even let myself in groups just because I was, afraid to, if I wasn't the best, and then there's no way they'd accept me.
Mm. Mm.
And so I think it's so many things, and that's why I love the definition of trauma and the myth of normal.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, it is an event. So I don't want to discount that. And it's the meaning you made.
Yes. It's what we attach to it. Yeah. Like, I'm a bad person, or I'm a failure, or I'm dirty, or I'm just less than, or, people either go low or they go high,
Yeah.
So I have to prove that I'm better than everybody else. I have to prove that I'm smarter than everybody else. I have to have all the answers. I have to have all the money. I have to have all the expensive cars and clothes and houses, so I can show that I'm not less than. So I'm going to go up and try to look like I'm more than, where some people go low and think I truly am less than. Yeah. But it's all, it's all shame. I mean, what shame does to humans, and like to our children in school systems, that says, you're not performing at the level we expect you to perform at, so you're less than.
Yeah. You remember how hyper I was as a kid?
You were hyper.
Oh, man.
You were hyper.
Should have been on the marathon training program. Right? I mean, you talk about education, like, well, it's just that you're making meaning from so many family and conversations and friends and school and all the things you're involved in. And I love that. That was, that was tough for me. I had a ton of energy. I mean, I still do.
Yes.
I still work out.
You have to.
Event twice a day. Twice a day I'm doing some form of activity, right? Like God made me very active. And
you have a lot of kinesthetic intelligence, so you wanted to be, you were just happy if you're out playing. Like, an ideal school for you would have been an outdoor school.
Yeah.
Where you could just be on the move and on the go all the time. But instead, you're in a classroom where you have to sit down, be quiet, and pay attention. And that was just super hard for you to do, Yeah. And then you'd come home at night, and I'm like, okay, honey, we got to do a little homework. And I would need to sit with you to keep you focused.
Oh, you patience. Gosh, you patience. Maybe I helped you. I'm parenting now, so maybe I helped you with your patience. Maybe I helped you grow patience. I never thought about that until now.
Thank you, darling.
I am a gift.
You're a total gift. You're a total gift. Yes, you're a total gift. Josh was my gift as a baby who never slept, and so I'm like, he's teaching me patience. And then you taught me patience.
And then you had me, Rowdy.
Yes, it's just all this energy bouncing off the wall all the time.
Yeah.
And so you taught me patience. Jonathan, our youngest, had to have his socks just right on his toes before his shoes could go on.
What about that blank, the silky?
He loved his silky.
He loved his silky.
Yes. So, he taught me patience, and like, okay, we're going to have to try his shoes 10 times before they're on right, So, all of you are tremendous. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's true.
Isn't that funny? I just was thinking, like, Josh.
Yeah.
Gosh, he's wise.
He's so wise.
And Jonathan, isn't he? He's a comforter.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He makes you feel comfort right away. And so I'm like, I think I always looked at that until this moment that, like, oh, Josh didn't sleep. Bummer. Yeah. Oh, Micah was rowdy. Bummer. Oh, Jono needs this. No, it's there. Now as I see that true light, as you bring that up, truly is a gift. Because they are gifts to
It is.
to
Each
me.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like Josh would be up a lot at night, but I just finally decided, you know what? I can resent this, that this baby doesn't sleep, or this one is super hyper, or this one's, pickier about how things are going to be. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can resent that, or I can see it as a gift. So I'm like, I remember learning like in the middle of the night, like, oh, well, me and Josh just get time together at night, and with all your activity, I'm like, oh, you bring so much joy and you're so vivacious. Like yesterday in our groups, one of our members, like, every time Micah laughs, it just makes my heart happy because you just have this super outgoing, vivacious laugh, Yeah. And so there's such a beauty in each one of every human and every child. And I think if we could, I think that's what we try to do in the work we do with people is like, where's the beauty in this human? Where's the gift in this human? Where's the gift in this opportunity I get to work with this human? Yeah. And gosh, over the years, what I found is I learned so much. Oh. I can sit there and listen to a couple and I'm like, I think I do that. Yeah. Or, oh, if I did that, that could be better. Like that would make me a better business person, or that would make me a better leader, or that would make me a better coach if I did that. So, I think just that's why I challenge you, like, you can't be judgmental and be good at this field.
It's the greatest gift.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a gift for me. I thought it was a gift for my career. Oh, boy, was I fooled.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, was I fooled. Yeah, but that was a good one. I was thinking about that as you're bringing up groups and just that family environment and collective wisdom. With that individualistic view, kind of like I had, and that has kind of brought me to where I'm at today, and the loneliness and all that. But we always think it has to be us, right? But when you get into a group and you start getting the collective wisdom, you're right. It's so much more powerful than just something that you could personally do, right? Or personally think of. Or
I think that was a gift. Not that I don't want to say it like that. I was going to say like the gift of COVID. COVID wasn't a gift. I mean, so many people suffered, lost their lives, and some people still have long-term COVID, and just lost their businesses, lost their loved ones. It was a tremendous amount of loss. So I don't want to say it haphazardly, but I think one of the things that was a takeaway for me is how we share an us brain, how we have this collective brain, and how we desperately need one another. Yeah. And if we're going to function at high levels, we've got to be constantly inviting others in and inviting and welcoming. Like, no, how are you really? Like, don't give me the fine. I'm fine. It's like, no, don't give me the fine. How are you really? Like, I want to know you. Yeah. God made us for knowing and being known. And so I love when we can really realize, like, no, this is what we all need. This idea of individuality. Yes, we have to work on self-differentiation. Yes, you have to have a self that can stand on its own 2 feet. Yeah. And push against others where there's a solid self.
Yeah, great mutuality, right? In that.
I'm huge on that.
So good.
Because if you don't bring a self into a relationship, what are you bringing?
Yeah.
You're just going to accommodate the other person.
End up resentful.
Right. End up very resentful.
I only say that because I've been there.
No, haven't we all been there?
Yeah.
Where we don't bring enough self. Yeah. But the idea that we are just doing this as individuals and we're all on our own is, I think, the biggest myth of all. And I love it because lately, like, you and I and Jonathan are building this company together, and we've got Hector, and we've got Julie, and we've got Ron, and we got Daniel, and we got all these people, awesome. We're collecting. Really and I'm like, I want to spend the rest of my life collecting people.
Amen.
Like collecting people, and let's collaborate, because we're going to be so much better together. And so lately when I've had I find myself like, I've got to make this decision. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I can call all my people.
Yeah.
I can call my people and say, hey, what do you think?
Yeah.
I did that with you, like you and Jonathan last week. And you're like, Mom, don't do it. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you're like, yeah, no, don't do it. I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm not going to do it.
That feels right.
That feels right.
Yeah. It's good.
Because you have a little more self-preservation.
Yeah.
And I have more social in me. Yeah. So I'll just give it all away to the herd. And you're like, no, wait, whoa, slow down.
Yeah.
And so you're such a gift to me in that way. Like you balance me and others balance me, and I'm like, I can never be wholehearted by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have blind spots and I've got weakness and I've got limitations. But if I know that I can lean in to others around me, so I keep working on letting others in more and more and more, and getting over the myth of doing this by myself.
Yeah.
So defeating.
So good.
So you felt defeated when you felt like you had to figure it out on your own.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because I've experienced the loneliness.
Yeah.
I've also experienced nobody being around that had the skills or the training to help me in that time.
Draw that out of you.
Draw that out of me.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm passionate about organizations, right? Because it's like, man, if you can provide support for those people, they'll flourish, right?
We've gotten to do some organizational coaching.
And it's so fun.
And man, it's just such a blast to go in and help teams just start actually caring about each other, working together and collaborating, and not everybody trying to defend their little piece of it. Yeah. But it's like, no, if you guys can learn how to work together, man, you'll be an amazing team.
Yeah, start thriving.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's cool to see. I mean, I think what happened in group yesterday and it's happened in the organizations we work with, it's once again, it feels more like locking arms.
It does. You mentioned something earlier that I want to go back to about our bad parts. That tell me more about that.
Was there something that came up for you? And was I kind of started talking about my bad parts?
I know. I like to say to our groups, all your parts are welcome here.
Yeah.
Or even if we're working with a team, hey, all your parts are welcome here. Yeah. There are actually no bad parts.
Yeah.
But I think you said something about if you feel like you've got these parts that maybe can't keep up or can't achieve at a high enough level, you start hiding, those are my bad parts. I have to hide them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's just coming up for me right there is when I get protective is where I lose it.
Mm-hmm. How do you mean?
Well, it just depends on if you're talking family or you're talking, leadership in an organization. But because they're so tender, and because I'm kind of holding them here so tight, that if somebody gets close, it's like I don't know how to explain that for myself, but it's like dog eat dog, it's it's on.
I was going to say that's where the bark and the bite comes out.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If your spouse, your wife, a friend, a coworker comes close to something that you feel like is a bad part and you got to protect it and hide it.
Yeah.
Somebody gets close to that vulnerable part. So
that's where the shove happens.
That's where it happens.
And that's why, I think that's the special part of coaching is and therapy work is like, that's where, you know, you're a great model of this. And I think all good coaches and therapists are, but like resistance is a gift.
Resistance is a gift.
Resistance is a gift.
You're
and
right.
it's a gift for us internally as we work through our stuff, but it's also a gift
Yeah.
To everybody if you'll face that, you know what I mean? And if a coach will kind of draw that, you talked about drawing out.
Yeah. Follow the
Right.
resistance.
Follow that resistance.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, I think that's the part that cannot be taught in school.
Yeah. No.
Right? It's like, I'll never forget one of the first groups we did together, real strong individual, great leader, right? And a lot of times high level leaders get there because they know how to bowl.
Yeah.
You know, and you came close to a tender part, and I watched him shove you verbally. He didn't actually physically shove you, but he shoved you hard, and the whole group kind of went, "Oh, dang," you know.
Uh-huh.
And and just seeing you invite that,
Yeah.
and kind of just be so gentle with that, knowing
Yeah.
it with.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things where, you know, I hope to always have mentors for that reason. It's like seeing that moment and being in that moment.
Yeah.
That's special,
Yeah.
right? Because that's where the work is to be done.
Right.
Right there.
Show me a thumbprint. You show me the thumb, right? So if I see a print, you know, like the man who would push against me,
Yeah.
you know, and kind of bark a little.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is you're showing me your tender spots. And so I'm not going to move away from those. I'm going to move towards those and keep inviting those, you know?
Yeah.
Right? It's like if you work with somebody who kind of likes to come across as having all the answers,
Yeah.
you know, if you'll keep digging down, you'll most likely find a little boy who at some point was told he was stupid, he wasn't enough, he wasn't ever going to make it. And so, you know, if we'll just keep digging down, and I think that's the work we love to do, is like, hey, you know, we're not just, we don't want to sweep over that because we're not going to be able to coach you forward.
Yeah.
When there's this obstacle where you've got to have all the answers, so people on your team experience you as a know-it-all, or people on your team aren't contributing. Though you like go into a meeting and you're like, why don't these people contribute? Well, it's because you have all the answers.
Yeah.
So you know, we protect our greatest strengths. So in childhood, we kind of know that little boy had to adapt to feeling stupid by knowing all the answers.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love to say what was adaptive in childhood, how that little boy figured out how to stay safe by having all the answers. That's how he stayed safe. Now becomes maladaptive in adulthood, and he's not getting as much out of his team as he wants to get or could get.
Yeah.
You know, because he's got all the answers. So everybody else just kind of shuts off their brains.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's so good. That's been resonating with me, the difference between achieving and leading.
Yeah. Oh, there's a big
Right.
difference in there.
And don't we usually get to leadership because we've achieved?
That is how most people are promoted into leadership, is
Yeah.
because they're great achievers.
Yeah.
How do you see that? What's the difference between leading and achieving?
Well, you know, it's like it's kind of like that idea of like, I can kind of be in a silo, I can do it, right? Mentality, and you can accomplish more. You know, work a lot of hours, high capacity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, but when you start leading, you really start drawing out others.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
stops being about you.
That's true.
You know what I mean? All the time, and you start drawing out others.
Yeah.
And then you add in the connection work that we do, and I think it creates a beautiful leader who can be connected and be with others and lock arms with others.
Yeah.
And see them excel and see them thrive. And I think it gets real special. And I think too, that's where, achievers, so you lead 5 people, maybe you can still achieve. Lead 10. But there becomes a breaking point.
Yeah.
You can only work so many hours in a week.
That's right.
And so when you start leading, you're not exhausted. You're more present,
Well, you
Just
and
so
I
many
both
gifts.
love neuroscience, and one of the books we've recently listened to, read, whatever, it made this brilliant point about how you can't sit down and make your brain work, right? Like, you can't force your brain. Like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to think, and I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
And what they found is that oftentimes, like going for a walk, or maybe do a walkabout at work, where you just go and say hi to people and, visit a little bit, walk around, and then you might be able to go back to your office and actually get some work done because you've, given yourself a little bit of space.
Yeah.
And you're not treating yourself like you're a slave, but opening up space to have creative ideas and how to connect with others, how to be with others, just honestly, like mirror neurons, like walking down the hall and looking at other people in the eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody smiles at you, can light your brain back up.
It's great. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I like that you bring up, like, well, so many times we always go to the mind, and it's really a lot of our intelligence in our bodies. It's in our environments.
Yes.
It's in our groups.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We overwork this thing.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean? It causes a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety.
It does. Well, I don't think people realize that the brain is like maybe around 4 pounds, maybe a little less, but it uses up 80% of our energy. So we're constantly overworking it. That's why we're exhausted. We at the end of the day, you can say, why am I so tired?
Yeah.
Well, you probably overworked your brain all day.
Yeah.
And you probably need to tap into some of your other intelligences.
Yeah.
Like your kinesthetic intelligence, your creative, musical, art, all those things can be so refreshing for your system.
Yeah.
So I think you're one of the best dads I know. You got 2 little girls.
Dang you, Mom.
Oh, does that
you.
just...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tender spot for you, isn't it? Yeah,
Love
you're
my
a
girls. Yeah.
You're a great daddy.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll never forget.
It's a great compliment for me.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
Like one day, I don't know, I think Sailor was in the back seat, probably before Scouty came along. And she's in her car seat behind you. You're driving. She's behind you. And she's just melting down in her car seat. And do you remember this?
Well, I'm not pinpointing the exact one yet, but keep going, keep telling.
So you reached around and you put your hand on her foot and you said, okay, now, baby, I want you to breathe with Daddy. I just want you to breathe with Daddy. I'm here with you, honey. You're okay. You're all right. I've got you. And let's take 4 deep breaths together. And just calm down. Yeah. And I just watch you take her from like 100. She's losing it.
Yeah.
To just calm and grounded.
Yeah.
And contained. Just using your voice and touch. Yeah. And giving her containment.
Yeah.
So I've watched you do that a lot with your girls. I imagine you do that with some of your clients as well.
Yeah, it kind of go. You brought up the bad. Like tell me more about the bad. I think that's the important part of doing your own bad inside of you work.
Oh, doing your own work. Yeah.
Because it's like, man, I remember when Sailor's a little kid. I was just kind of starting my master's at that point and starting to learn, and you had challenged me, and man, her bad would freak me out.
Ooh. I think
it would
a child's bad
out.
freaks out a lot of parents, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then but it's like the more I've got comfortable here with my bad, I can go, I know exactly what that's like. You know what I mean? I can now relate. We can now connect.
Yes.
And I think You talk about your modeling, you and Dad's modeling. I've always, just as a kid, now in business partnership, but still a kid, right? 43 and still a kid, right?
Always.
Hopefully always.
Always. I hope we all hold on to the child parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
The good parts,
Yeah. But that's the part where, like, I've always appreciated about you guys' leadership is it goes back to that. I never felt like you were superior in our business, but just as a mom and dad as a dad is like, I can, so many times in families you bring something hard, like Sailor, that's hard, right? When a kid's screaming, you bring something hard to the table and they kind of puff up and they get bigger and stronger and more authoritative.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I've always appreciated that about you guys is you guys have always been willing to say sorry. What I would call kind of like cement almost and meet me there. You know what I mean? I always think that's the part of the prodigal son story that gets missed. I think I could have it all wrong. I'm no theologian, but I think, the one son rebelled. And I think the dad repented and submitted and realized maybe he had been a little harsh and religious and rule-based with his son and maybe not given his son many options.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wonder if, like, he submitted and asked for forgiveness and tendered his heart. The world then submitted prodigal son's heart. And then it leaves us with maybe that's the challenge for the other brother.
Maybe. Right. The one brother was self-righteous. And maybe, the dad, I love what you're saying, because the dad didn't stand on the porch when the son came home. He ran out and threw his arms around that kid. And so that something had happened within the father, that there's some sort of softening.
There's some kind of softening.
Yeah, some sort of softening. It's
right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
And you you and Dad have always modeled that softening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I've been trying to do that with my girls.
I love that. That was one of our desires as parents, because I remember thinking as a little girl, even when my dad could be abusive, I was like, if only he could say, honey, I'm sorry. I always thought, if only he could say, I'm sorry, and he never could until he got much older. And so I thought, that's one parenting thing I want to do differently. And, your dad and I both agreed on that. Like, we want to be able to just say, hey, sweetheart, Mommy didn't respond there the way she wanted to.
Yeah.
And I am so sorry.
Yeah.
And I think it does model to your children, like, parents are human.
Yeah.
You're human.
Yeah.
I'm human. We're just trying to do the best we can with all of our humanity.
Yeah.
And our humanity's messy.
It is.
And I love that our humanity's beautifully messy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that about myself. Yes.
Yeah.
What's it like being the son of a sex therapist?
Oh.
Hector, do you really want to know the answer? Oh, no worries. So Hector's a brave soul. He really, he's really getting it into the dirty here. Hector asked me, what is it like to be the son of a sex therapist? And
that's a great question, Hector. I wouldn't have asked that, bro. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
Well, here is the part that many people don't get to see, Hector. My mom's the sex therapist, and my dad is still in his early 20s. And so when we I think the scarring part is is more my dad than my mom. My mom actually has some like containment around that, but Dad, he'll be at the you got breakfast this morning, right, Hector? Yeah. So he's the breakfast guy. His bacon is world class, and he'll be flipping his bacon like, "Oh, honey." Oh, last night was great.
Oh, gosh.
And you're like, oh, gosh, you could have spared me. I mean, I'm all for sex in your 60s. Don't get me wrong. But
You just, as a child.
I just didn't know. I didn't need the play-by-play. Oh, gosh. Oh, it's so
but really,
good.
is it embarrassing? Because sometimes I embarrass myself about how frankly I'll talk about sex. So does it embarrass you?
Well, it doesn't me. Okay. Now I would never speak for the whole family.
You have other brothers who I may be embarrassing.
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
I know.
And gosh, what a needed space in our world. Yeah. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I think allowing us to be open and to talk about it and embrace the beauty of it, I think it's good. I think it's better than learning from your peers.
Oh, man. From peers or porn. If parents aren't talking... Then your kids are going to get it from peers and porn.
Yeah.
And let's face it, your peers don't know anything. And porn is not about love and relationships and intimacy, so.
Hector, that's what I would say. I think my mom's more an intimacy expert than she is a sex therapist or a sex expert. Yeah, she's all about, man, and you said it well today, your wife was struggling and you just rub her back. Right? Like, that's intimacy. Yeah. My wife will get angry, and when she's angry, she wants a hug because she's most tender usually in that anger. That's intimacy, right? We've put it in this category that it has to be sex, but she's really an intimacy expert, and I love. That's, what? When I think of my 10-year-old daughter, what do I want for her? I want her to have intimacy.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want her, and she's in 5th grade. The boys are watching OnlyFans, right? I don't desire that for her because, right, that's like, oh, that'll make me happy. That'll be fulfilling. It talks about that in the Bible of like, you'll eat all the time and have sex all the time and never be fulfilled.
Never. Be emptier than before you started. It leaves you empty.
Yeah.
Well, Micah, what a blast to have you on the pod today. Hector, anything else, my friend?
What's your favorite ice cream?
Is it? Hey, Darcy, I got a disclaimer on this one. Hector asked me what my favorite ice cream was today. And I said, oh, Hector, you're opening a can of worms. Now, this man loves food, and I mean love. I love to eat. The only thing I don't like is celery and olives.
It's true.
Oh, man. I live passionately. And so I don't know my favorite ice cream. I'm more in the moment guy. But when you brought that story up, you asked me that earlier. The greatest story, this is when I knew my wife was a treasure, is we were studying. And now, mind you, I'm in my 20s, but I don't think I hit my academic state until my late 20s.
Most males don't. I wish everybody knew that. So all you sons, don't panic.
Good.
their academic interests will turn on around 25 when their prefrontal cortex has developed. So don't worry about it. He'll be a genius someday.
Okay. Well,
Right now he may be flunking out of high school, but someday he's going to be a genius.
That's good. Well, and that was part of my fear of getting into coaching, right?
Yeah.
I think there's two things of me that I was afraid of was being emotional, because I didn't know if macho guys would accept me in that.
Yeah.
What I found, they love me more.
They love you.
They love me more.
They
But it
love
was a big fear of mine. The other fear of mine was the educational part, because I struggled.
Wasn't your thing growing up?
Yeah, I struggled there. And I found out that I loved it.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I'm a nerd. I mean, I'm reading and
Totally.
I just love it.
I love it.
So we were studying, but I was 22 years old. I couldn't really study. So we were at the library, and then I got hungry, and a big group of us went and ate. And after we ate, we stopped by the ice cream shop and we got ice cream. And I think I got mint chocolate chip that night, which is I love mint chocolate chip. It's not my only one I love, but it's one of the ones I love. And so I, of course, wolf it down. And, Jono said it well, like I probably spilled something on my shirt in the process, you know what I mean? And my wife, and just getting to know her at the time, she goes, well, you know what they say about how you eat your ice cream? I'm like, what do they say about how you eat? Well, how you eat ice cream is what your sex life is like. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like this girl. She nailed me. So she nailed me. At least twice. I got 2 proofs.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
After you crack me up. Oh, the ice cream.
Well, I love partnering with you. I love working with you. We have a lot
Me
of fun
too.
together.
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's
Thank
been
you.
amazing, the work we get to do. And I feel so blessed as a mother that I get to work with some of my sons. And it's, and with you so closely. And we get to do all these incredible groups together. And what I've loved about watching you is you have been a bit of a dog on a bone on getting great mentoring. And you keep doing your own work, which I keep doing my own work, because we believe if we're going to do this work, we've got to be doing our work.
Yeah.
And I've watched you have less and less to self-protect. And so you're more available and more open and lost the judgmentalism.
Oh, thank
and you love
At least
people
minimized
deeply.
it, hopefully.
Yeah, love people deeply. So, hey, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a delight to have Micah with me and to have you with us. And, love does make the world go round. So you're not alone. You're not alone. And we all need each other. And there's nothing weak or pitiful about that. It's the way God meant us to be. So go out and love yourself and love somebody else today. I imagine at one time you were this brilliant little child. As we enter into adulthood, what was brilliant in childhood can actually get in the way of you living the life you want to live. Hello, friends. I'm Nancy Houston. I want to help you live a better life. We're all emotional creatures who sometimes think. And so it's so important that we make this journey from our heads into the depths of our hearts. Welcome to the In-Between with Nancy Houston.